We are live.
We are live. We are live. We are live. Hey, I'm Reggie Ponder, the Real Critic. This is the Real Critic Roundtable, where African American film critics come to debate, discuss, and have some fun. I was able to corral, and I mean corral, my two friends. They've been busy. One of them is thinking that they could take the day off, like it's a 4-day work week. I don't understand that. And then the other one is like, I've been working so hard. I got so much stuff to do that I don't even believe the person even made it on the screen. And so the one who got so much to do, I want to say welcome to you, KB. Good to see you. Good to see you.
Good to see you all. Thanks for having me back. Yeah, so much to do, but listen, I'm excited to chat about some things.
Well, excellent. Good to see you as well, Katia. Trying to take the day off, Katia
Oh no, I
Wood.
didn't try. I did. I did take the day off.
There we
We
go.
we, we didn't try. We believe in, you know. I'm really about to put up this out of office and be like, God bless you though, and
See,
have so much
I'll
to
I'll
do.
believe that you took the day off when you take the dog out and just hang out with the dog. If you didn't do that today, then you ain't take the day
I
off.
did. Me and my Snooky. We were out. Me and the husband. We were at the park. He had a good time. I have video and pictures. You know, Jasper. Listen, he's living his best life. He is never leaving us
That is
unless he be looking at you like, what you got. Yeah.
well. Well, before we get started, you say never leaving. You made me think of Jennifer Hudson because I have been cultured in the last 7 days. I saw Imagine Dragons,
Love
Jennifer
about you, Dragons.
Jennifer Hudson, Bruno Mars,
Mhm.
Terrence Blanchard's opera,
Ooh, love that.
Ooh.
and Will Downing in,
I
a,
love Will.
in the span of 5 days. When Will sung my song "Say Yes," you it was over. It was done. So I've been cultured and saw more stuff, more other stuff than I did see movies. So I took a few days off too. Katia was take that.
As you should. Listen, God don't take American Express, and you can't take it. Well, you can't, but you can't be making offerings and being like, I got a pair of Jordans for the pearly gates. And so you might as well enjoy yourself and live your best life.
I
And
love it.
also, music is healing for the soul. So you better go to these concerts and enjoy.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
No, it was. I will tell you. All you said you like Imagine Dragons. They really
Mhm.
was. They really weren't on my list of things to see, but they were part of the ticket, and they did it. They were really good. They weren't okay. They were really good. Bruno Mars just. I mean, it is what it is. He just absolutely crushed it. But then we saw Will Downing in in a small venue. Girl, his band was fantastic. He was fantastic. The opera was really good because I really come from a more dancing background. He had a lot of dancers, and I was really keyed into the dancers and the dancing, and it was fantastic. The opera was good. It's opera-ish stuff is not my love, if you will, but the dancing in that it was good, Katya. I think you will like it as well. So anyway, I'm cultured and I just feel so.
Opera can be fun. It just, I think, it's better in Italian than in German. German can be a little rough, but I think it's fantastic what Terrence Blanchard is doing, stepping into that space because again, we are not a monolith. Black people like to go to the opera too. We like culture. We like getting it dressed up in our fineries. You know what I mean?
No,
So,
absolutely.
I'm really glad that you mentioned that because
Yeah.
this idea that w- we don't do that, please.
I
No,
go to the opera often. So, it's a
Yes,
lovely
it's a
experience.
nice escape. Listen,
yeah, and so my daughter Bobby was like, we are all going to see this opera, and the five of us went. Just it, and it was packed, plenty of people, and I think what he's doing. So I'm really glad you mentioned that because I was just trying to drop it for a second. But there were a lot of black people, a lot, and I know for a fact that he pulled in more black people than it would have normally gone to see the opera because I hadn't seen that many black people Well, I hadn't seen black people in like 4 years, but it was a lot of people. So
Good for him.
and that was here in Chicago. And so since we talking about Chicago, I'll start with the first thing that we're going to talk about today, which is a show based in about Chicago, and it's called 61st. And this show is about a young athlete named Moses Johnson who everybody knows in his community that he is don't bother that kid. The gangs know to don't bother that kid, that he's going someplace and just let him go, let him be. However, he gets caught up in some kind of little scuffle, some little gang police stuff, and all of a sudden his life has changed drastically. He's sought after by the police. He is t- taken to jail. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that happens here, and it's a really interesting take on community, on policing, on trying to get out of your community. And the lawyer that he ends up getting is played by Courtney B. Vance, and Courtney B. Vance's wife is Ingenue Ellis. And so when we look at the Academy Award nominated, excuse me, Ingenue Ellis, it is so phenomenal to see her there. Now, before I let my partners come in here and talk, they said, Reggie, you need to talk about this first. And I didn't want to talk about it first because I actually wanted somebody else to bring it in so I could say this. Katia, you always be like, am I Philly this? Am I Philly that? So that's why I really didn't want to bring it in first, because I wanted to come in and say, my Chicago this, my Chicago that. But they had me started off anyway. It is so 61st Street and where they're talking about is actually not far from the University of Chicago, very, very, very close, not far from where the uh, Obama Presidential Center is going to be. So I spent a lot of time not far from my high school. So, Kati, you asked the question: is this real in terms of neighborhoods and all of that? I'm watching the thing. I'm like, okay, yeah, that L track, the train track right there. I know where that is. I used to catch that one. So yeah, I see the neighborhoods, all of that, and even the brownstones that they show in terms of where people live and all that stuff is authentic. They changed the names of the gangs, rightfully so. Not to be mentioning no real gang, they got some different things there, and I appreciated that. By the way, I don't want you to be mentioning the gangs here, so some gangs be thinking like, yeah, look, that's us, that type of thing. This turns into, and we won't talk about what happens at the end because it's just out now. But it turns into, this is a real, it really is about how Black people are treated and how we treat ourselves and what we believe about ourselves, is what I would say. And with that, I'm going to turn to the television expert in the television group of everything I know, and that would be KB in the house. KB, talk about this show, because this was one you really wanted to talk about, and actually we held off talking about it because we really did want to get your thoughts and expertise.
Yeah, I wanted the ability to be able to talk about the show freely. So, I'm glad the pilot is out so we can talk about it at length. And, it's not a spoiler. It's been out for a week. So if y'all haven't watched it, that's on you. You can go back and watch it. But um the show just has so many layers. And that pilot episode, in my personal opinion, comes out swinging in more ways than one. I mean, it was one of the most jam-packed like pilots I've seen in a long time, but in my personal opinion, it worked. And while I can't speak to whether or not it is authentically Chicago, right? Like I'm not from there. I only have visited, but I will say something that is authentic is just this policing treatment of Black and brown boys specifically. And I just, obviously, Academy Award nominee Anjanou Ellis and Courtney B. Vance, they've been in a lot of productions together. They play on screen really well off of each other. So it's always a delight to see them. But I would be remiss if I didn't mention Andreen Ward Hammond, who plays the mother of the two Johnson boys who are caught up in this situation. I think she does an exceptional job because we really don't see her that much in the pilot, right? But the pilot is heavily about her two sons. And here you have one son, he's getting ready to go off to college. He made it out, like that's really what you're just thinking. Like he made it out. He made it out. He stayed focused. He runs track. Moses has a good head on his shoulder, and he really is just trying to leave, right? He don't want to be involved in any of this drama. And neither does his brother Joshua either. He has a really close relationship with Joshua and his mother, and Joshua is just at the wrong place at the wrong time. That's essentially what it is. And the cops don't care. So, like they don't care that you're in the wrong place at the wrong time. They're watching these specific young Black boys because they are gang affiliated, they are dealing drugs, and they're trying to get something. But the corruption in this police city, and I will say Holt's what's his last name? McCallany, I believe. He plays these characters quite often, and he is the lieutenant in this case, and he is always playing a shady cop. I feel like, sir, you are playing this too well. He just has no empathy whatsoever for Joshua, who again is just caught up in the wrong time. And I feel so bad because, there's a moment in the pilot where Moses is they both just trying to go home, and Moses sees his brother, so he is going to instinctively go over there and be like, yo, we don't want no drama, I'm just trying to get him, just being a great older brother. And then what we see when the police come on the scene and literally take everything out of context, which is also so wildly infuriating and annoying, he leaves his brother. He runs, right? Because this is what he's conditioned to do. And not just because he's a track star, but you have to think about the layers and duality of him being a young Black man in Chicago trying to make it. He literally has trained himself to run. Like if there's any scenario that's happening, he runs. So he leaves his brother, and it's so unfortunate because his brother just keeps calling his name. It's one of the sadder moments of the pilot. Like he's really calling for him and he is gone. So, when things go left with the cop and Moses, it truly was an accident. Like he could not have thought that. I mean, what do you think? Like, I really hate when cops are like, don't run. Like, what do you expect him to do though? Like in this scenario, what did you expect this young Black man who you already have in your mind has committed a crime? He is not. And in that moment, you can tell Moses is thinking about his future and how quickly everything changed. And he's just making a decision, but he's also still a kid, right? And so it just, the nature of it, and us still thinking about how someone says often, and someone just said it recently, but it's been said often, how young Black boys and girls aren't allowed to make mistakes. And it's literally one of those things that you see happening in real time on this show. So I just think it is such a powerful show dealing with that, the duality of how prostate cancer impacts Black men disproportionately, that being something that's of subject in this show and that we see in, the very first minutes of the pilot. Then we see, just how beautiful the relationship is between Courtney B. Vance and Anjanou Ellis's character, and how like their goal really is and how their goal really is to change the community from the inside out. That's what you're getting, right? Like Martha is there to change the community from the inside out. Franklin is there to change it from the inside out. She's a community organizer. He's an attorney. I just think it's just such a deeply layered and beautiful, beautiful body of work that deserved all of the awards that it got at South by Southwest, because it is just such a timely piece, and unfortunately timely in ways that it shouldn't be. But also timely in ways that it should. I mean, so yeah, sorry, that was a long-winded way of saying I really enjoyed it, especially the pilot, but it's just, it's heavy.
I love that you mentioned a few things, and I'll speak on them really quickly because I want to bring Katya in here. But I love that you spoke on how it was jam-packed, because it is jam-packed. And they have to, I believe, for me, it worked as well, because I believe they have to do it because they have all these different characters, and they have to try to figure out how to make sure that you understand the stake that each of these characters have in this piece. So it is absolutely jam packed. I will say this is that because I have a law enforcement in my family, I actually understand both sides of this. I'm not talking about the corruption part of the police. I'm talking about the police who don't understand why you ran. So I totally understand that. I'd be like, look, I said stop, you didn't stop. So now I see you as suspicious. I understand that. However, I understand why they ran it as well. The complexity that comes in here is this whole thing about the corruption and the stuff that's happening in the background, the layers of corruption that are happening. And while that's not authentically Chicago, it's authentic to Chicago. Go ahead, Kati.
I mean, I think it does a couple of things. You know, you have the thing about I like about Courtney's character is that he feels that because he is sick, or for lack of a better word, dying, he feels like this is an opportunity, this case, for him to redeem himself from all the other cases where, as a public defender, he probably was like, take a plea, you know, just so you can get out and you can live your life. Take this, you know what I mean? Like, kind of like just going along with the system, because the system isn't really set up to for us and to advocate for us. You know, we hear cases all the time where you know, I read something the other day where a young man committed rape and assault, and they gave him 5 years probations, and he doesn't have to register as a sexual offender. Right? You're saying at the back of your mind, like, so you're basically setting them out to be out there, or you don't even have anything to trigger him, you know, to trigger anybody that this guy has this type of history. Whereas if it's somebody black, well, you got to go away for at least 5 years and register as a sexual offender. Which is something that you should be doing, you know, if you do that type of crime. And I just feel like we don't get that point of view from public defenders. I think public defenders get a really bad rap, and we don't get to see what they're dealing with and the lack of resources. You got to remember the state represents the government, so they get all the resources, they get all the money, because we're in a country that loves to over police and wants to incarcerate everybody. So prosecutor's office is always going to get. And then to speak on to the part that KB was talking about, how the lieutenant is coaching the guy. The guy might have been an okay police officer, ready to do the right thing. But we don't talk about also how the blue wall continuously tells police officers who are taking an oath to protect and serve, to protect themselves, over telling the truth. Imagine if a doctor took a Hippocratic oath, decided, I'm going to do what's best for me and my practice instead of what's best for you. I mean, it just wouldn't work. Like there would be no more doctors. You know what I mean? And it's just very interesting how he sits there and he's manipulating, and how he is using his badge to intimidate people. Because again, as Black people, we know once we're in the system, it's a whole different game. So why people, it's just a continuing shot. Oops, sorry. Siri talking. Sorry. It's just a continuing way, I think, for people to say. I read a review where someone says, why do we have another one of those shows? I'm like, why do we have another police shooting? That's your answer. As long as we continue to have these police shootings, and we can't seem to go a month or a quarter without one of these happening, we're going to have shows that examines and looks at the different aspects, whether it's Chicago, Philadelphia, New York, what have they. And I also love the dynamic between Anjanae and Courtney, those two as characters. They're both fighting for the community. But I think it's also important that as husband and wife, that you show a picture that you can love each other and have different point of views. It doesn't mean that you don't love each other. It's called being individuals and having a right to use the brain that God gave you. They both want the same thing. They're just going about it the different way. And I love the fact that even though they're not walking the same path to the resolution, but it's still mirrored in respect and love. Again, having a disagreement with your spouse doesn't mean you don't love your spouse. Sometimes you got to tell your spouse, I love you, but you're wrong. You know, that's also part of your responsibility. And also you have to find a way to coexist and say, you know what, we're going to have to agree to disagree. And
to a point.
Within that sport, up to a point. But I'm saying
to a point, because
but if you're thinking about there's going to be certain things like, whether it's rearing kids, you may have different point of views if you have boys and girls on that. It doesn't mean that, you know what I mean? So I think I'm really interested in seeing how that whole thing is. And again, you have two very strong actors,
Oh,
and the two of them, and Courtney, when I spoke to him, really had, as one would understand, had nothing but amazing things to say about her. And this is the second time, I believe, that she portrayed his wife on TV.
yeah, I love all that you said here, and I know that if I don't say it, one of you guys were meaning to say it. Is that the fact that they picked up Jarrell Maximilian Sullivan to play their son, and that he's a special needs uh, individual to play that, and had never acted before, but they got a real person to portray the real issues that they're having. I I can't even give more kudos to that. How thoughtful to really seek out, instead of trying to have somebody try to act that, and give some opportunities to some other people. I man, that just warmed my heart. I do also love the fact that they have a loving relationship, but I knew one of you guys were going to mention him, so I just wanted to
Can
mention
I
him.
just say, as an antidote, when you talked about the neighborhood, one of the creators of the show went to Chicago because Courtney was like, "You got to go to Chicago if we're going to do it in whole field." So he stayed at a hotel. He's a runner. And the people at the hotel said, when you get to the lake, make a left or make a right. If you make a right, you're going to be in, the South Side. And he's like, okay. So naturally, like when you tell people not to go somewhere, what do? We're going to go there because we want to know why we can't. And mind you, this is a white man. So he's out there in his little running shoes and he's in there. He gets to the lake. He's like, I'm going right. And he's glad he went right because he got a chance for himself to see the area, to kind of take it in, to observe and use that in the writing. And I think that's also super important. Again, Reggie, you spoke on the Chicago piece. How are we going to write these stories about places and you're not even going to go there, talk to the people, see it, absorb it, to make sure you have the authentic flow? So I think that also says a lot about what their intentions were with the show.
It's really interesting that you talked about. I didn't know that anecdote, but as you know, I'm from Chicago, and when I went to the University of Chicago Business School, the people who gave us the tour didn't know that I was from Chicago. So as they're giving us the tour, they're like, "Don't go south of 61st Street. Don't go north of 55th Street. Don't go west of Cottage Grove." And how they said it was to let all the students know that these would be dangerous times. And it was so offensive to me because I grew up in that area. I knew these places, but that you're going to tell these folks that they can't uh, venture there because it's too dangerous. And so it's really interesting to hear that anecdote. KB, I want to give you the last word on the show. I loved it as well. I didn't say that. I loved it as well. I do think that it could have been set anywhere. They so happened to get the streets and the areas right. But if it were anywhere in America, the show would work to me because the actors are phenomenal and the issues that they're tackling are very interesting to me. But KB, last word.
Yeah, listen, it's a must watch in my personal opinion. And I do think you're right in the sense that, there are a bunch of other cities they could have based this in and we would have still had the same understanding of the level of corruption, kind of the level of familiar relationships, the depth of these characters would have remained. But, I'm going to say one of the best things about the pilot is when finally, we see Andrine's character, Norma, is at the house. The police bust in, and her son, who she hasn't talked to either of her sons all day, actually. So she doesn't know where they are, what's happening, what's going on. But Moses finally calls her because he realizes he's running, but he doesn't have a plan. He doesn't understand what's going to happen. He has committed this crime by accident, and he don't know where his brother is. Like, he literally knows nothing. And he calls while the police are there. And she says, it's one of the best line deliveries of the pilot, period. She says, listen to me very carefully. She said, I'm your mother and I'm only going to tell you this. She says, run. And I was like, it's one of the best things about the whole pilot. It is heartbreaking, but he does need to run. Like, I mean, that's the reality. She don't know what else he needs to do. She knows that they've already come into her home and planting evidence illegally, trying to make it seem like there's something there that isn't. So I'm like, it is just so good. People need to watch it. The second episode will premiere on AMC this weekend, this Sunday. And I really hope people are watching it because it is an exceptional show.
And you can also see it on All Black. If you don't have AMC
Yep.
Plus, I think they run it like
so they run it on all three. It's on AMC, AMC
Okay.
Plus, and on All Black.
Okay, so y'all
no
good to go.
Right.
So-
Somebody got one or the other. Or call
Well, you
somebody
got
and
AMC, so
password.
that's part of the cable package, the YouTube thing. So Black people, get yourself together. You can see that for free.
There's absolutely many places to see it. Well, that's it. I mean, we talked a lot about 61st Street, and I think it was worthy of talking about it. And look, I'm 7 episodes in, and I want to talk about everything that's happening down the road. But I know I can't do that, so we're going to move on. So I want to move on to a film that only Katya and I saw, because I want to end the discussion with KB and Katya on Fantastic Beasts. So Katya, I want to talk about Ambulance, and this is the one that I actually want to bring in. But because I brought in the other one, I'm gonna ask you to go ahead and bring in Ambulance.
Okay, so Michael Bay is, for me, he says it first. He makes movies for 16-year-old immature teenage boys, which then that's what he said, not my words. And and sometimes you'll be like, who is this for? Just explosion, 6 words, explosion. And he's made some winners, but lately it's been challenging. Let's not act like it hasn't been, where you're going, what in the name of everything is going on? But I was expecting nothing, and I enjoyed Ambulance. I enjoyed the action. I enjoyed the action shots. I like, a lot of people was frustrated with Yaya. I was like, this dude is domestic. Like, really, Jake? Like, really? Like, you are the problem. Do you know what I mean? And I like the I don't know if you can say it's a buddy movie, because one has a need and the other one's plumb crazy. But I think if you love, like my husband loves action films, he would enjoy that. We got to remember, like, we watch a lot of movies, and we know what we like, right? And sometimes we like something, it's going to be us and 4 other people, and we just got to accept that, right? Whereas with this, I think that people who like action films, who like going to the movies, like things blowing up and it to be loud and all of this is their type of flick, and because again, if you don't like superheroes, or you don't like the stuff that's a little artsy fartsy, as my husband would say, this. I'm really happy for Yahya, because Yahya Abdul Mateen II, I think it's really important to see him in these types of roles. We know he can act, we know he can do the serious stuff, and also run him his money, and because there's a fan base, no disrespect to Jake, that came to see Yaya. They are like, we came to see our guy. And again, I enjoyed this, and I really walked out and I was like, was this a Michael Bay movie? And yes, the plot is all over, but we came to see the stuff blow up.
So because Katya jumped right in, let me just tell you what this is about. This is about 2 brothers who believe, 2 brothers. One is adopted in. So Yaya is adopted into Jake Gyllenhaal's family, but they're 2 brothers. One who is leading a life of crime, and one who is a decorated veteran and is having some financial issues. And that's Yaya. Yaya's a decorated veteran, has some financial issues. Jake Gyllenhaal is this guy who has so many things in the fire from a criminal aspect that is crazy. He ropes his brother into going into doing a robbery. They go and do the robbery. You know for sure that it's going to go sideways, front ways. I mean, every which way and loose, and it does. And so they end up hijacking an ambulance with a wounded police officer in it. And Asa Gonzalez is the ambulance, the
He's the
EMT.
paramedic.
She's the paramedic, the EMT, and she has to keep this police officer alive while they are riding around Los Angeles in just the most crazy chase that you've ever seen ever. What I agree with you 100% is that they got this action absolutely right. I don't even know how they shot these car scenes, because the car scenes are so up and close and personal. I saw it in like one of those Dolby things where the chairs kind of shake and stuff like that. I thought I was driving one of those things. Michael Bay killed it with this action. The helicopters, the explosions, the car chases, the shooting. I mean, they shooting at people, and it is a fun, wild, and crazy movie. So that's what's to like. But what's not to like about it? It makes no sense.
That's why I didn't give you the storyline,
Right.
because why do we didn't need it? See,
If
you
you
trying
go-
to educate
Kathy
people on
said, "I'm
plot.
saving you breath right now
Exactly.
because
No, you
I
might
don't know
be.
why
It
Reggie see,
was,
this is why I
but I
didn't
wanted
say
to
it.
tell people what it was about. But you're absolutely right. It makes no sense whatsoever. There is nothing in this movie that makes sense. Why he went with his brother, what they ended up doing. The dialogue makes no sense. You can see that they're fishing.
That man should have died.
They're fishing for laughs versus or some interest with the dialogue. It is, if you just want some unadulterated action, then this is the film, and it is good. It's an enjoyable movie.
And Wale's in it. Wale, and he doesn't play a rapper. I just want to say that he's not playing himself. He's not playing rap. But see how Reggie got upset because he mentioned the storyline. He wanted there to be a plot, and I went in the other direction. I didn't mention that because I'm like, you don't need it. If you pay attention to any of that and you try to make sense why they robbed the bank the way they did, why the crew is in here, that's when you start getting upset. But if you went in like I did and you just said it is what it is, let me just lean in on the action, you'll have a fantastic time.
I think Kati is 100% right. The reason I want to bring it up is because if you go there, see, I didn't go there either thinking I know Michael Bay, he gonna blow up some stuff. I didn't go there expecting it to make sense. But there are a lot of people who want movies to make sense. They want to know from A to B to C. If you are that person, do not go to this movie, because you're going to be questioning everything. You'll be like, you just be pulling your hair out because there's nothing. I mean, absolutely nothing makes sense.
Also, the ambulance never ran out of gas. They drove all over Los Angeles. This is the most fuel efficient ambulance.
What?
I was about to say, is it electric? Because but again,
we know
Wait. You said they never ran out of gas.
No, they ran this ambulance went all over Los Angeles, and I mean
Michael Bay said
all over Michael Bay said this is a fuel efficient vehicle. Just go with me. This is before gas prices went up. This must have been a nickel a barrel, and it's filled. And my man was
Hey,
I'm dying because I do still want to see this movie, and I'm still going to see it. But y'all are cracking me up. Like,
KB, they did not do the scene where the ambulance is driving and another ambulance needs to pull up to it to put the fuel in it because they need to refuel. He didn't go there. This ambulance did everything. Here's another thing that was really, really crazy. I have to mention this because we're so proud about our cities. They show the 401 and the 405 with no traffic. There is no way in LA. There is no time. I mean, there's traffic, but you're gonna stop. You're gonna stop every 2 minutes on any one of those freeways. Talking about we wait for rush hour. No, there's no such thing as rush hour. It's always packed on the 401. Don't come on now. So Michael Bay did not care about making sense, and he shouldn't have to. Because and you said this, Katya, is that sometimes he makes a hit and sometimes he doesn't. This one to me is a hit. It is absolutely a hit because I said it was fun, fast, fantastical, and enjoyable. It was a
And
good
you get
movie.
a Wale cameo. Wale in there, he playing his little part, and he don't play a rapper, and he doesn't die. So again, I'm just saying, if when you go, before you go into the theater, leave all your cognitive reasoning at the other side, have your little snack,
Not
get
all of your
popcorn,
cognitive reasoning.
and just lean in. The moment you start questioning stuff, that's when it goes south. But you just go, you know what? Maybe. And don't think you can purchase an ambulance that works like that. So I'm going to say it's just, this is the movie one. Just, but
Hey, that's it
it
on
be
that.
that way sometimes. You know what I mean?
That's it on that. And so I didn't see this movie, so I get to have my two experts talk about the next movie, which is Fantastic Beasts,
This did have a plot and a story.
and I'll ask you, KB, to bring this one in.
Oh my goodness. Listen, I wait a minute. Hold on, pause. Y'all didn't even say if this is a watch it or leave it.
Oh, it is. Oh, you gotta go see it for the absurdity. Just for the absurdity.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
The action in this is so.
Yes.
I'm gonna go the other route, not for the absurdity. The action in this is first rate. It is.
I say the two.
It is probably the best action shooting scenes that I think Michael Bay has ever done.
Oh, wow. That's saying a lot, because that first Transformers, Bad Boys, like
I think I agree with Reggie. I think it's better than that.
I think the technology, because the technology has gotten better, you could tell that he really utilized the technology. I'm not saying knocking any of those, because those were even better movies, but in terms of the action, I was all in. I mean, it made you feel like you were actually in the chase. So I just think from an action perspective, what he did is he said, look, I'm gonna give these 16-year-old Reggie Ponders 16-year-old Reggie what they want. And I was all in 100. So yes, watch this movie. This is so much fun if you like action. But if you don't and you want something to make sense, then please don't waste your money, because you will come out mad.
It is great action, but it's also the absurdities make you just laugh. Like, you know what I mean? You just make you lean back and go, okay, you know what I mean? And I agree with Reggie. It's just a good time. Sometimes you need to go to movies and just get lost. And that's the perfect vehicle. You just lean in.
Okay. All right, KB, it's on you.
Listen, we're going to talk about the Fantastic Beasts, The Secrets of Dumbledore. This is actually the third film in the Fantastic Beasts series, and it is, I believe it's the 11th one, just in this kind of Harry Potter Wizarding World type, I'm gonna call it multiverse that has been created. So this is a direct sequel to The Crimes of Grindelwald, and we know that Johnny Depp was replaced by Mads Mikkelsen in this particular film. I will say a couple of things. So this is picking up where we left off. It's really the story of Dumbledore's life, not before Hogwarts. It's while he's, teaching at Hogwarts, but it's before the Dumbledore that we Harry Potter fans kind of know, when he's much older and much more seasoned, and before he meets Harry and Hermione and everyone there. And so, I want to say I don't want to say that these films are darker, because I do kind of find that the earlier installments with Harry and everyone are also dark, but it's just different because, right now we're focusing on the adults and their journey and their stories being wizards kind of, and the troubles that they encounter. So I liken this story to say that Dumbledore has always been a character that's represented historically throughout all of these, represented goodness and purity. And he was always someone who didn't necessarily feel like the Muggles, aka the humans, deserve to be kind of the lessers on Earth. He was always, willing to have kind of a cohabitational life for everyone. He always thought that the wizards and the muggles could intermingle, so to speak. And so I liken Grindelwald to be kind of his Voldemort, in the sense that, like, they bump heads. But this is a little bit, this leads into a little bit of the love story, which, y'all, that is not spoilers, literally in the trailer, and they have been talking about it for a million times. This leads a little bit into, like, their romantic relationship in history, and how that impacts, you know, kind of the impasse that they're at now, and Grindelwald kind of being the quote unquote villain, and Dumbledore being, you know, kind of the hero. So I will say this. I really, really liked this film. Like, I think Jessica Williams is a great addition to the cast. I mean, I will say that this, like, dialect that she was doing, I thought worked so well. I think that she is having just such a fantastic year, and she's been in a lot of amazing things. And if you have not watched season 2 of Love Life on HBO Max, I will 3000% recommend it. And, you know, mostly because of her and William Jackson Harper. But yeah, you know, Fantastic Beasts, like, I think it's good. Like, it is a good film. But the more that I sit with it, and it's funny because Katya said this film has an actual plot. It does have a plot, but the stakes are not high. Like, when you really think about it, like, I don't know, the entire time I went in, because I went in here, like, I'm a Harry Potter fan. You know, like, this is my jam. So I, like, really enjoy this body of work. But I literally was like, I mean, I'm gonna tell you, you knew going in exactly what was going to happen. Like, there is no element of surprise. Also, because, right, we know Dumbledore lives on. Like, we've seen him age over these films. So there was no stake of me being like, ooh, Dumbledore might die in this film. Like, no, you're just getting more of, like, the secrets behind his life and his family. Okay, sure. But I also knew Grindelwald wasn't going to, like, it's one of those things where you're like, you know what's going to occur here. So the stakes aren't that high, but I was still entertained. So I guess that's the best way to put it. Like, I still enjoyed it. I enjoyed the action. Again, I enjoyed Jessica Williams' character and what she brought to the table. I think she's a breath of fresh air. I also think I would be remiss if I didn't shout out Eddie Redmayne, because, you know, Eddie is an exceptional talent. Like, I don't think anyone can take away how really good of an actor Eddie is. But I think in these, it's so interesting because this character is kind of a wild departure from, like, the characters that you mostly see Eddie portraying. And I always think as Newt, he is very endearing. And so, you know, there are a lot of qualities. And in this film, I feel like it challenges Newt in a lot of ways that was, like, really interesting to see from a character growth perspective. I do think Jude Law was really acting in this. Like, I was like, okay, Jude, look at you coming back, my holiday boo out here. Okay. But I will say I wanted the romance between Dumbledore and Grindelwald, but it was not there for me. Like, I don't know any other way to say it. Like, I wanted like, please, yeah, give us a queer storyline, except this was not it, really. Like, I don't know. Like, Katya, I will let you speak to it. It just wasn't, like, I wanted the queer storyline, but really, if I'm being honest, we really didn't get into it. Like, it was.
We kind of know why, though, do we?
So,
I mean, you know who helped write the script, don't we?
So I mean, yes, I understand. Listen, I know what you coming in, because yes, we all know what should we call her? Should we call her the author?
Yeah.
The author that shall not be named? Like, shall we
I know. She who shall not be named, who is really trying to cancel the movie and everybody that worked on it with her crazy rants, but we shall not name her. A couple of things. I think also the movie is rated PG-13, so you're a little bit limited with what you can do. Do you know what I mean? So let me just say this. The last one, I was like, what is happening here? I was very confused. I was like, what is... And because I really do like these movies, and I think the costuming in these movies is some of the best, especially the women. Like, you know who the good people are versus the bad people before they even open their mouths. I love this whole world of wizardry. I know I'm a grown ass woman, I'm 50 plus, but let me have my moment. I'm all for it. I too wanted, I was like, Jacob, can I get a wand? You know what I
Hello.
mean? Hello? But I think because these books, even though I think I agree with KB, they are more mature and they're darker than Harry Potter because you are dealing with good versus evil, and the evil is willing to go through, do whatever it takes in order to be in charge. It's a little tougher to explain to your younger kids. I would say this is more like middle school and up. Not when I say middle school, I mean like sixth grade, not sixth grade below. Do you know what I mean? Third grade, I think this is tough because they're used to Harry Potter, and now you have these characters who are making very challenging decisions, right? But I do think that's why you. But I, the part it did work is the yin and the yang between Grindelwald and Dumbledore. Why they can't cancel each other out. Why why they are connected. They are in each other's feelings and bodies and minds, and that's why there is continuous conflict and frustration. What I loved about this, I agree with KB. Jessica is everything, and we should be talking about her. And to be honest with you, she's the first Black character in all of the entire series that has a major role, that has a major starring role, and is front and center and has agency. And she is, you know, a great witch. And I think that's also very super important for, because a lot of Black kids, including my sister, grew up reading these books and watching, and the Black people were background dancers. Let's keep it all the way 1000. You know what I mean? So just to see her, I want to say the other gentleman's name right, and I am so sorry. William Natalam, who also plays an intricate part. So the colors were here, people. So we were like, and they didn't die. We okay, I see you. So that type of thing. I agree. I love all the people on the good side, right? Newt, Jacob, who is our favorite Muggle, you know, and I know he's like, you know what? Every time y'all show up with these wands and the books and all it is, it's just crazy. I love the fact that we got to meet Newt's brother, who is like, I wrote in my review, he's like the official guy. He represents like the rules and regulations where everybody else is breaking them. And I also think it's nice to see Dumbledore, because in Harry Potter, he's always wise. He has all the answers. He's all knowing. Whereas in this, he doesn't. He has to lean on other people to help him through. And I think of this movie, and not to say that it's like the Avengers, but I think it's like the Avengers of wizardry, where all the wizards are coming together and saying, okay, we need to help save the universe, not just for the wizard world, but for the Muggle world, because if we don't, it is going to be really bad. And again, to add on to what you said, KB, Dumbledore doesn't believe that the Muggles are the enemy. Dumbledore understands that in the future there's going to be Muggles and wizards who fall in love. And I think that's why he has so much empathy for Hermione when she comes to Hogsworth, you know, and he's very protective of her. And I think, you know, again, I thought this was entertaining. I thought the special effects were good. I thought for once we walked out and we were like, okay, I understand what happened. You know what I mean? Because I was the last one, I was like, they're planning to make a third one. I said, we still trying to understand the second one.
Well,
And
to be fair, I will say that Theseus was in the second one. So clearly, I understand why you were like, man, what happened? Because you didn't even remember he was in there. He was.
I know, right? But I'm just saying, it was just not as clear. Whereas maybe that's the lesson learned. They were overcomplicated in part two, and I thought this was simple. Sometimes is better. We know what it is: good people versus bad people. We stopping a bad guy, and I think the gentleman's name, and I don't want to butcher his name. I think, to be honest with you, I think he elevated the role of Grindelwald. I mean, he plays bad people pretty well. Like, he's very delicious as somebody who is willing to take out any and everybody so that he can be, you know, ruling the world. But I think this is fun. And I also feel like this is a more family friendly. So again, I'm saying as a mom, junior high and up. And it's also, I think critics didn't love it, but I think it would be interesting to see, because this is the family offering, Whereas everything else, because next week you'll have The Northman, which is definitely not for kids. I like the please don't take your kids to see that. Your kids are gonna need therapy. Heck, as an adult, you might need therapy, but I do think that this was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. I really did. And Jessica Kuda, her hair, her fit, like shout out to the costume, hair, and costume department.
It was just, I mean,
That's
honestly,
it.
she truly was like the star. And also I will say shout out to casting too though, because and even for the second film, obviously, Callum and Eddie are believable as brothers. Like I was like, oh, okay, finally, like yes, like I can
Yeah.
actually see them being
Yin and yang, right?
actual
They
brothers.
made sense. He's the serious one. Eddie is the eccentric one. But
Yes,
when push comes to shove,
they got
they
each other's
had
back.
each other's backs. But again, I enjoyed getting lost in this world.
Yeah, it was
What-
great. I do think it was really good. Again, the stakes are not there for me, but also I'm okay with that because I really didn't need them because
We
it was
weren't
like
lost
I
in the
knew what was
woods.
gonna happen, but I still had a good time.
I know, right?
Well, I'm really glad that you guys liked it. This was one that I wanted to
Reggie,
see.
you needed a wand. Where's your wand? Didn't you have a wand? What happened to your wand?
You ain't never lied. So I don't have it here in my office, but I did have the wine, and so this is one that I wanted to see. My daughter Carrie loves this whole series and loves the fact that there's going to be a 4 and a 5. It's already been announced. We already know that this is not going away right away. So hey, I'll try to check this one out as well. Before we leave, if there's anything that you're looking forward to watching or have watched that you think that people should check out, I'd like to get a tip for folks. And I'll start with you first, KB. Anything you're looking forward to watching or something that people should watch that you've seen?
Well, I'm gonna tell y'all this, what I am looking forward to, because they are giving me all of the fantastic Instagram content. All Rise is currently filming. We know it's back on OWN, and they will be premiering this summer. So, like, I'm just saying, y'all get together because we know how I feel about that show. It's one of my top shows. And when we talked earlier about the public defenders and seeing them and their lack of resources, that's another show that does it well. So, yay! I am looking forward to season 2 of The Flight Attendant. So The Flight Attendant was one that really surprised me with season 1, and it was supposed to be a limited series, not coming back. We're just supposed to do that, and now it's back for season 2 here shortly. And I am very much looking forward to watching season 2 of The Flight Attendant, and also season 2 of The Wilds. You know, it's giving Lord of the Flies and a lot of different other kind of classic survival novels. And at the end of season 1, we saw that it wasn't just the girls lost on this island, that there are some boys on the island too. So I'm curious to see what season 2 is going to look like now that we know. And also, you know, in season 1, we also knew that their parents set them up, which I need, you know, I'm not going to say they need to run up on their parents. I'm not going to say that, but there needs to be a conversation with these parents who just decided the best way to discipline and get their children to learn a lesson was to do a simulated plane crash and force them to be on an island without resources. I'm just saying that seems mad dramatic and also out of control, and they should just pull up on their parents for a conversation. So season 2 is coming out soon, and I'm looking forward to that too.
Excellent. Katya.
Well, I'm going through a little bit of my withdrawing for all my period pieces. Gilded Age is done. I was like, what? You know, but I'm glad old girl didn't marry dude because no. I was like, no, you know how you talk your TV? This cannot be the ending. Bridgerton, you know, we gotta wait. We're getting season 3 and 4, but fret not, my friends. Downton Abbey is coming along soon. The Dowager, she's got a secret life, so I'm looking forward to that being released, you know. And also, I have to say, you know, after The Lighthouse, I was done with Sir, and I was like, you know what? Y'all stop playing with me and talk about his movies are good. Weird is one thing, but weird and just nonsensical is another thing. And I really, listen, I'm going to be honest with you. I had a little cocktail while I was watching The Northman because I just was like, I know it's going to be a lot. I was prepared for 3 hours. I sat near the aisle just in case I need to do a bathroom break. I did all the mental preparations in the car. I always felt like, brrr, brrr. I was like this, right? And I was thoroughly surprised with The Northman. I did not like, because I do like my Viking shows. I do like my little extraing and all that extraness. But this turned out to make sense because I am sorry, the lighthouse does not make sense. And if you say it does, you are lying. You know what I mean? And you're just caught up in the cinematography. But this actually in Alexander Scarsdale. So I am like, you know what? If you like the Viking shows, you like your violence. I mean, you want to talk about some violence. There's going to be some stuff going on in there where you're like, okay, now I'm sitting up, And this was not horrendous. And it's not 3 hours. It's 2 hours and 18. Listen, one thing for me, you're going to get a straight and no chaser. But if you like the Viking shows, and there's like a gazillion of them, this is going to be your bag, fellas. If your lady friend doesn't like that, you may have to go dolo. But I was pleasantly surprised. So yes, those are, but definitely Downton Abbey. I do love all my fineries and old people saying things that they shouldn't be saying. Oh, it's always a good time.
Well, good. Well, with me, it's all things basketball, and I hate to say it, Katia. I'm sorry for your Villanova people.
You're okay. They're not in Philadelphia. I once again, Villanova is not Philadelphia, so
I
you
know.
can go in.
Oh, cool. No, I'm not going in. I was just thinking,
We don't like them here, so you can go in.
You don't even like them. All right, cool. I did pick Kansas to win, so I didn't win my pool because somebody picked better than me, but I did pick Kansas to win. But what I watched was Winning Time, and that was the Lakers a piece, and I would absolutely, and I want to make sure that I give everybody the real name, is Winning Time, the rise of the Los Angeles dynasty. And it was a fun and interesting time. It gave a lot of insight on a lot of the people that, if they weren't my heroes, were people that I knew. So when we talk about the Jerry Busses of the world, and Magic Johnson and all the coaches and the Norm Nixons and so on and so forth, I was interested in all of that. And to me, it's absolutely worth watching. I'm looking forward to seeing the Magic documentary, a little docu-series I think that he has coming out, and I'm totally looking forward to that. All things basketball, and something that's not basketball but has something to do with a ball is KB. If they can't bring out Ted Lasso quick enough.
I know, right? But they're filming. They're filming.
It's going to be a long time, y'all.
It's not going to be until the fall, I think.
At minimum. It might be at the top of 2023, y'all. We just going to have to survive.
This is going to be so hard with every soccer game on TV, which I don't watch. But every time I see a soccer game, I'm like, please bring me Ted Lasso back.
World Cup.
I just need it.
In November, World Cup.
I just need Ted Lasso back.
And the last thing I'll mention is that you mentioned this is All Rise was appointment TV for me. When it came out, I would go watch it. I love the acting. And I said that. I love the acting.
Well, we're gonna get that before Ted Lasso, so we should be thrilled.
Yeah.
So
we gotta, and we definitely have to encourage
people to watch.
I'm a firm believer that word of mouth. Like I feel like shows like obviously Abbott Elementary, The Wonder Years, tremendously benefited by people getting on Twitter and talking about it. Like I really love the new Wonder Years. I love that whole freaking. I sometimes forget that there was an original Wonder Years. When I tell you, Dean, I was just, and Lillian is my girl on the Wonder Years. Like she just be going in, and I understand where she comes from, and the dad be cool, So I'm really excited. I mean, about what is happening with Black people on TV. And that's why, we all work in this industry. When people tell us, oh, there's nothing on, it's just the same old, same old. I know y'all are be like, I'm ready to rip off my eyebrows and my eyelashes with y'all's foolishness, because it's a really good time.
Yes.
No matter what you're into, there is something on every freaking channel for you to watch that centers us, and it's not generic, and a lot of it is really smart and really intelligent. Go ahead, Reddy.
No. I'm just so glad that you make this point, because this is the point I think I want to end on, is that we talk about that. Why do we need to see a show like 61st Street? Because everybody always talks about the Black trauma and the things that we're going through. When those shows are surrounded by other shows that don't show that allows us the opportunity to watch that and examine the social economic issues that are happening in our community. So we can watch a Abbott Elementary adjacent to a 61st Street. We can watch the Wonder Years adjacent to a 61st Street. And because now we have some diversity within the diversity, that don't tell me that everything is about trauma. So now we can watch these things a little bit more intelligently and introspectively, if you will. And I see you shaking your head, KB. So I'll let you say something to that.
No, it's true. I mean, I do think, to both of your points, like, there is a plethora of content out now, with Black and brown people that speak to a lot of different experiences and backgrounds and workforces. And there's just so many different things. And so you're right. There's an opportunity for someone to see themselves represented in a multitude of ways, on television right now. And that is what I love about kind of this new renaissance of us being able to open up the floodgates and do that. So I agree. I do think it's very important to kind of have this word of mouth. I will say something that I didn't mention before. Mix on HBO Max too.
I love that. I just finished watching it. I like it
too. So, I just think that there is something, and it's about a feminist movement, in the porn industry. It just is so good. Like, so I think that there are a range of topics and things that you can look at right now and find just content that, relates to you. I mean, listen, I saw someone say just yesterday that Winning Time, they felt like, was the best show on TV right now. So that's why I'm like, I like that there are kind of these diverse opinions too about, like, what the best show is on television right now. Because, I was ready to be like, now, no, I feel like that's Abbott Elementary. But, like, we each like what we each like. And, it's not a knock on any show, because ultimately they're both good shows, right?
And that's really the point. That's really the point, is that they really are both good shows. So I can see how you could say that. If you were to say that about a show that wasn't good, you'd be like, where did you come out of there? One more word for you, Katya, before we close out.
No, I agree. Like, use that remote, and also, if you've been loyal to watching certain things, we're about to have season finales. We're about to get into these summer months. This is a perfect time for you to discover some of these other shows. Like, if you haven't seen Abbott, they still get credit. If Wonder Years is on the bubble, hit that play button. You know what I mean? And all that Grand Crew, Woke, all of that stuff is out there, and just support at least give it like 2 episodes. I hate when people watch things for 30 seconds and are like, oh, this ain't no good. Mama, how much did you see? 30 seconds. Well, that's the title, girlfriend. You need to dive a little bit deeper. So I'm just saying, give it a legitimate shot. And again, I'm very excited. I think this is a very nice time for television.
Look, that's it, you guys. I am the Real Critic. That is KB. That is Katya Woods. I'll say this as the ending thought, is that Katya says to give it more than 30 seconds. I would have not given the Sound of Metal more than 30 seconds, because the first 30 seconds were jarring. I did not think I was going to like that movie. It was absolutely fantastic. And there's so many times when that has happened for me, when I start watching something and they're like, I'm not really sure that I would have given Ted Lasso more than 30 minutes, because that's first.
Now, Reggie, I know you lying.
No. I'm not sure. That first episode, I was like, is this me? Is this me? But when I got to the end of that episode, I was like, oh yes, this is me.
You ready to move to England, get a spot of tea, make friends in the pub?
I was like, this really can't be me. But wow, both of you guys recommended this heavily, and I'm in love with Ted Lasso. So I just wanted to come back and say I agree. Give it 2 episodes, and if after 2 episodes you don't like it, because you can see where the story is going after 2 episodes, you really can't see it even after 1 episode. You're like, where's it going? I just want to say that I totally agree and co-sign on that. Again, I'm the Real Critic. This is where African American critics come to debate, discuss, and have some fun. And we'll see you guys next time. Peace.